For me, teaching is like it's a passion. I mean, I've always been from young. I remember, my first little blackboard that my dad got for me. So I was like teaching even like my brothers and my brother and sister, my cousins. And well, basically teaching for me is the kind of joy, intangible joy that you get when you see the look of understanding and enlightenment on the child's face. I think that is priceless. I try to introduce, like, for example, an IT element into my classes. I try to introduce like games to make the lesson less boring for them. Games in the form of like very colorful graphic images, moving images, so as to capture their attention. Blind leading the blind. Okay, close enough. What's the meaning?
Close enough. That means like a person doesn't know anything, a person doesn't know anything.
At the same time, I try to build in social awareness into the lessons, selecting themes that I think young people should be aware about today, like for example environmental pollution, issues like poverty, issues like racism, global terrorism. These are issues that I think as global citizens we should be aware of, and I incorporate this into my lessons. Well, I started around when I was as young as I suppose 16 or like 17-year-old. I was like basically giving tuition to my own brother, coaching him in his studies. I was even helping out my cousins, and after that neighbors' children, kids around me. And even as a university undergrad, I remember giving like part-time tuition to supplement my pocket money. So that was something I really enjoyed. Like I said, you seeing that look of enlightenment on kids' face and making sure that they understood the topic well. Thereafter, I got trained formally as a MOE teacher, and one of my first school posting was in a very ordinary so-called neighborhood school. Well, in fact, if I look back, I think that was one of my the best part of my career, entire teaching career, because I've always enjoyed interacting with these so-called neighborhood school kids. Right? They are very humane, they are very, very real, down-to-earth people. So while I was in the mainstream school, I taught English language and humanities, social studies and history. While I taught a whole range of them, I was assigned to, for example, normal academic classes, and for a short period of a couple of months, relieving a teacher for even a normal tech class. For most part of it, I was doing the express classes. I was also posted to the GEP school. I was trained as a GEP teacher. So I had a stint in Victoria School and even ACSI, dealing with a whole different spectrum of kids. So that was a very eye-opening, interesting experience, because as you know, the gifted kids, they think a bit differently, they function a little bit differently than so-called normal kids. So not that our mainstream kids aren't normal, but our GP kids, I would say they are a whole different breed. They are very interesting, they are very curious, extremely inquisitive, very good with their verbal, linguistic skills. They like to present, they like to talk. I enjoyed my time with them. I think that was, again, a very uplifting experience for me. I also taught the other spectrum, the JC students. Again, I suppose that requires a different set of skills than teaching secondary school kids, because JC kids are, after all, a lot more mature. So the way that you want to teach them, for example, the way you ask questions, the way you engage them, might be a bit different from secondary level kids. Basically, I think it's providing this very comfortable and conducive and safe environment for them to study in. So for example, students, sometimes they drop by just to study here, even when they don't have classes. I'm fine with that. If I welcome them to come in, because they have told me that, oh, at home it's too noisy, or it's too distracting, the bed is right there, they feel like sleeping, or the computer is there. So they like to come up to my place just to work or to do their own work and revision, because it's quiet. I'm around for consultation if need be. Otherwise, they are free to even do study subjects that I don't teach, where they just want a place to basically revise their work. And also encourage them if they need to bring along their friends. I'm fine with that. Well, I suppose the shift has been towards less of rote learning and pure memorization and regurgitation. There's a lot of more emphasis and focus nowadays on creative thinking and critical thinking. But in time to come, I think it's only going to get more competitive. And with our population that is growing, with higher expectations placed on our students by the authorities, by parents, I think the kids need to be equipped with a lot more like skills than students of the past. Skills to help them think, to integrate into the world, basically be global citizens. But I also believe that every child is unique. Every child is special in his or her own way. So my intention, of course, is to groom every child that comes to me in the best way I can, because I believe that every child is a star. And my approach is basically being the person that I am, and being very genuine, and being very passionate about what I do. Basically being very sincere in teaching. My philosophy as a teacher is this: I want to give abundantly and generously of my time, my knowledge, and my resources. I believe that will benefit my students. But I think one of the first myths is that you have to work really hard. You have to work harder than the student next to you to be able to achieve well. I always tell my kids this. I mean, it's no use working hard if you don't study smart at the same time. You're kind of like just knocking yourself on a brick wall. Studying hard is good, no doubt, but you need the right strategies. You need to know how best to tackle a topic that you do not know. It's not just pure content. Like I said, we are moving away from rote learning and content regurgitation. We want you to think. So that's what basically students need to do, studying smart. Well, basically feel free to drop by for a discussion. You may bring along, for example, your child's past test papers or schoolwork or assignment. We can sit down, have a chat and see where the problem area lies, and we can see how I can best help your child.